Have you ever looked at a company and just wondered, how do they always seem to be one step ahead? Like they can see the future or something? Well, I'm going to let you in on a secret. It's not magic, it's strategic planning. It is the roadmap that guides a company through the, let's face it, chaos of the modern market. I mean, think about Facebook. Years ago, it was just a website you used on your computer. But then, as the entire world shifted to mobile phones, they made this massive company-wide pivot. They retrained their engineers, they completely retooled their business, and, get this, they dropped $1 billion on the tiny little photo-sharing app nobody had really heard of yet, called Instagram. Why on earth would they take such a huge risk? Well, that's the big question we're going to unpack today.
So, to answer that why, we're going to need a map. First, we'll get our bearings and define what strategic planning even is. Then we'll look at the actual step-by-step process and the tools managers use to plot their course. We'll also figure out the difference between the long journey and the day-to-day tasks. And finally, we'll see how this all plays out in the real world, when you're not the only ship at sea.
All right, first things first. What exactly are we talking about when we say strategy? Well, you can think of it as the map and compass for the entire organization. See, strategic planning is all about taking a huge step back from the day-to-day grind. It's not about this quarter's sales goals. It's about looking at the entire organization, the whole shebang, and asking, where do we need to be years from now to not just survive, but to win? It's the ultimate big picture thinking.
And when we say long range, we're not talking about some sci-fi future. We're usually talking about a 3 to 5 year horizon. That's the real challenge for managers, right? They have to figure out what the company needs to do today to be successful 3, 4, or 5 years down the road.
And after all that thinking, all that planning, what you get is the strategy. It's not just the conversation, it's the final decision. It's the actual plan of action that sets the course for everyone in the company. Okay, so how does a company actually get from a blank sheet of paper to a brilliant winning strategy? Well, it's not a lucky guess, it's a very deliberate journey. So let's walk through the 5 key steps of that process. This journey has 5 main stops. It all starts with analyzing the world around you. Then you set your destination. After that, you plot your route, you actually set sail, and finally, you have to constantly check your compass to make sure you're staying on course. So step 1 is all about awareness. You've got to scan the horizon. What's the economy doing? What new technology is coming out? What are your competitors up to? And just as important, what's going on inside your own 4 walls? You need that complete 360-degree view before you can make a single move.
Now, one of the most powerful tools for scanning that external environment is something called Porter's 5 Forces. It's basically a framework that helps you see the hidden pressures in your industry. It makes you ask some really tough questions, like how easy is it for a new competitor to show up? How much power do my customers actually have over me? What about my suppliers? Is there another way for people to solve the problem my product solves? And of course, just how brutal is the fight with my current rivals? So once you have a really good handle on the environment, then you can choose your destination. And that's where the mission statement comes in. And look, this isn't just some fuzzy corporate slogan you stick on a poster. A good mission statement is a crystal clear declaration of purpose. It's the fundamental reason your company even exists. It's the North Star that guides every single decision from here on out. Okay, so we've scanned the horizon, we understand the competitive landscape, and we have our North Star. Now comes the fun part, actually plotting the route. And to do that, managers have a few really essential tools in their toolkit. The absolute classic, the most fundamental tool is a SWOT analysis. It's such a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. You just ask 4 questions. Internally, what are our strengths and weaknesses? And externally, what are the opportunities and threats out there? The whole point is to find that sweet spot, a strategy that uses your unique strengths to go after those outside opportunities, all while protecting you from the threats.
Another really famous tool is the BCG Matrix. This helps a big company analyze all its different products or business units. It's pretty simple. It just plots them on 2 axes. First, how fast is the market for that product growing? And second, how much of that market do you control? What's your market share? And when you do that, everything falls into one of 4 boxes. First up, you've got the stars. These are the exciting ones. High growth market, and you've got a high market share. Think about the iPhone when it first came out. It was a total game changer, growing like crazy, but it also needed a ton of investment to keep it ahead of the pack. Next, you have the cash cows.
Now, these are in low-growth, mature markets, but you still have a high market share. For a company like Apple, you could think of their Mac computers. It's a stable, reliable business that doesn't need huge investments anymore, and it just generates a steady stream of cash that the company can then use to fund the next star.
Then things get interesting with the question marks. This is a high-growth market, but you have a low share. For years, this was the Apple TV. Streaming was a booming market, but Apple wasn't the dominant player. So the big, tough decision is, do you pour a ton of money into this thing to try and turn it into a star, or do you just cut your losses?
And finally, you have the dogs. Low growth and low share. I mean, remember the iPod? It was once a superstar, but now it's in a declining market where it has a tiny share. These products often end up just draining resources, so the tough but necessary strategic move is usually to sell them off or discontinue them so you can focus your energy elsewhere.
Now, it's also super important to understand the difference between that grand multi-year voyage, the strategy, and the day-to-day tasks of the crew on the ship. That's the real difference between strategy and tactics.
You can see the difference pretty clearly here. Strategy is for upper management. It's long-term, it's big picture, it's focused on the future. Tactics, on the other hand, that's for lower-level managers. It's short-term, less than a year. It's super detailed, and it's all about making sure today's operations run smoothly. Here's the thing, you absolutely need both, and they have to work together perfectly.
And finally, you have to remember that no strategy happens in a bubble. You're not the only ship sailing on the ocean. You are in a crowded, competitive, high-stakes chess match, and every single move you make is probably going to cause a reaction from someone else. This is the world of what we call competitive dynamics. So one company, the attacker, makes a move. A great example is when Barnes & Noble slashed the price of its Nook e-reader. Well, the defender, in this case Amazon, then has to decide what to do. And in this case, within a few hours, Amazon cut the price of its Kindle even lower. That's the game. So before you make a big strategic move, you have to ask 3 really important questions about your rival. First, are they even paying attention? Are they aware of what you're doing? Second, are they motivated to respond? I mean, does your move actually hurt them enough to make them care? And third, are they even capable of fighting back? Do they actually have the money, the people, and the resources to get into a price war with you? So as we wrap this up, just remember, strategic planning isn't only for CEOs of giant corporations. You can and you should apply these same ideas to yourself. Don't just think about your next job. Think 3 to 5 years out. What market are you in? What are your personal strengths, your cash cows? And what question mark skill do you need to invest in right now to turn yourself into a star? Because at the end of the day, the most important strategy you will ever manage is your own.